7 o'clock my time. President Trump gave a speech in Florida this week, which was a mixture of warnings, assurances, and campaigning for 2020. Not only has he continued to honor his promises, he's also showing the American people it is possible to drain the swamp and rid our political system of the deadweight, dragging down every aspect of our lives from politics, media, religion, and academics. We're watching the dominoes fall every day. The media refuses to report what's really going on here. We've seen the Democrats continually trying to obstruct justice using puppets like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer as their frontmen, negating everything which would enhance the lives of the American people. The sealed indictments are now up to around 9,000 at last report, and the senators dropping like flies. It looks like a good year for 2018 and 2020. It could be a great time to elect people who aren't career politicians to key seats in order to further the Trump administration's agenda of making America great again. One continual thorn in the side of the American people is Trader 44, who once again has been patting himself on the back for a great economy, although it's President Trump who's not only made historic highs in the stock market, he's also grown the job market, and he's destroyed just about every policy of Trader 44's in just 1 year. During Trader 44's 8 years, ISIS was born, grew, and took over the Middle East and became a global problem. Apparently, he thinks that's some sort of great accomplishment. However, President Trump has destroyed key areas of ISIS strongholds, now liberating Iraq from these terrorists. That being said, we've now got a president who isn't afraid to tell the Palestinians Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, which it should have been all along. We had cowards in the president's seat, and then prior to this president, we had a literal traitor to our country. For those who like to keep talking about the Jew bankers on this channel, let me tell you something. Not every Jew is a banker, and not every banker is a Jew. So your racial comments about Jews makes you no better than the Democrats calling conservatives racists. In fact, it is the nation of Israel who gave the land around them to the countries who want them totally annihilated. Israel has been more than willing to work with the Palestinians. However, they want Israel destroyed just like Hitler did. Now, time and time again, we've seen the Jews survive horrible genocide, and not once have they asked for reparations, marched around the streets with pussy hats on their heads, and spit on people, or break their things, or physically attack them while walking on the street because they had different ideas. All of the racial bias that has been pushed on us has been by liberal media and the Democrats and their liberal brain-dead followers. It is so difficult for me to wrap my mind around being that dumb. I can barely comprehend that level of stupidity when it comes to life in general. The continual hypocrisy of the left and their total moronic following is just mind-boggling. With the defeat of one of the biggest crooks in the history of our time, Hillary Clinton and her massive corruption circle took a major blow to the advancement of the New World Order. In fact, if you watch the movie Hillary's America by Dinesh D'Souza, you would know exactly what the agenda is of the Democrats and who started it, which was Andrew Jackson, another Democrat who stole the land from the Native American Indians and produced the Trail of Tears. Thank you, Brian Kilmeade. This destruction of our nation has got to stop, and the American people can't do it, but they can do it by recalling and voting out current politicians. This last election showed us what we can do as a nation when we work together. We watched the polling places, we spread truth against great evil, and pushed back against lies told by media and politicians who are more interested in self rather than representing the people. This was the year our vote counted. We made a loud noise, and we are being heard. Whether you believe in the Trump administration or not, it makes no difference at this point. We are at a crossroads of decision-making, and we can either go down a path which will lead to our redemption, or we can pursue the total destruction Trader 44 put in place and is being pushed in our faces by liberals who are just that evil. President Trump is the first president in the history of the United States who is continually showing the American people the power they have. He's not concerned with self. He's concerned with ensuring the well-being of our country. The pompous commentators who don't like President Trump's tweets, ignore the substance of his words, focusing on the minutia, are the exact people he's trying to expose to us as the liars and traitors they are. People like Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, Rachel Maddow and Joy Behar, and the other disgraced talking heads on the networks are getting picked off one by one for their lies. These people are doing the American public a disservice when they blatantly lie. They would never have done anything like this to Traitor 44 because he's black. This type of racist bias is pathetic. Real journalists like James Rose and Jennifer Griffin and Catherine Heritage get pushed by the wayside for straight news reporting, answering questions, neutral answers, rather than the innuendo and scandal of their counterparts. Everything is smoke and mirrors, and it's about time we recognize this in every aspect. Question what you believe is reality. You'll find out the cushy little life you thought you had and the people you thought you knew are not who you think they are. It's time to wake up, Americans, and start taking a strong stand for Christian conservative values. You may feel as if you're standing alone at times, but this is what you're called to do. It took a lot of courage for President Trump to raise his hand at the first debate and say he wasn't sure if he'd support the Republican candidate if he didn't get the nomination. He was the lone truth-sayer in the room, filled with skeptics and critics. President Trump has shown us what it is to be a great leader, to have great courage, and is an example for each of us as we continue to push forward and defend this nation, which was given to us by God himself.
Thank you for listening.
Hey everybody, it's April or June. It is November 25th, 2017. I've been watching social media for a couple days, and I noticed that the Lolita Express was trending today on Twitter just for a small, short of period of time. Looks like Jack fell down on his job. He wasn't suppressing it. But since there's been a lot of sex scandals in the news lately, I decided this might be something that I wanted to see if we could add on to the story of Pizzagate, maybe make a few more connections here. I did this story about a year ago, and some tried to push it under the rug, but we do actually have more evidence pointing to the reality of this child sex trafficking, abuse, and the murders which they do. And so I want to make this little connection here and see if you agree. Much of the story started out with the publishing of John Podesta's emails on WikiLeaks, and we knew it was important because of the relationship between him as a campaign manager and Hillary's campaign. So WikiLeaks has a 100% track record, and so it's really important to make sure that we understand that and what it says. Now, a lot of us didn't know about anything about spirit cooking. We did not really. Pedophilia wasn't at the forefront of our thinking, obviously, but there were hundreds of references to pedophiles and pedophilia activity within John Podesta's emails. Once we had covered that, there was a relationship between the Democrats and this place called Comet Ping Pong and a guy who owns it named James Alefantis. There's some speculation that he may be related to the Rothschilds. I really don't know. But on a pastebin dump, which is where hackers go to dump documents that they've hacked, there is a reference to a biochemistry and relationship between biochemistry and Alefantis. I don't believe he's a chemist. I will say that. I do not believe he's a chemist, but I do think that he's involved with a chemist. Because if you look at this, he's pretty slick. He seems like a common street thug to me, but he's slick enough not to get caught, which I find interesting because we know, without a doubt, that he is hooked up with this pedophilia and this sex trafficking. But the interesting part about this chemistry connection is there's something called adrenochrome. Now, adrenochrome is mentioned in the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which stars Johnny Depp. And if you look at this clip to the end, it talks about this drug. I want you to take a look at it really quick. I never watched this movie. I thought it was stupid. But this particular clip is interesting.
Anyway, the last thing in the world you want to do is call this hotel again. They'll trace the call and put you straight behind bars. No, I'm moving to the Tropicana right away. I'll let you know what it is, and I gotta get off. Well, you have this phone tap, baby. Yeah, I know, it was horrible, but it's all over now. Oh my God. There's someone at the door. There's someone at the door. Hey! Hey! Oh, I'm innocent! It was Duke! It was Duke! It was Duke! I don't know if it was after my girl! It was after my girl! Ah! 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 Don't put that thing on me! Well, that's that. That's the last we should be hearing from Lucy, man. She's probably stuffing herself down